Rise and shine, campers, and don't forget your booties because it's cold out there. Of course it's cold. It's cold outside every day. What is this, Miami Beach? On today's episode of Sheesh, what a hunk. Where does it end with this guy? I will once again be discussing my awe of and respect for my wife, Laura Brown, and specifically today, her career trajectory and her capabilities and characteristics that made that trajectory possible. It really is cold. So cold that I wore my gloves. I could go on at length about all the amazing work Laura did at InStyle when she was the big boss, editor-in-chief. But this, I've decided, is more about how that career ended. The year was 2022. For 2 years, Laura had been running the magazine, from our dining room table on Zoom. And so I was pretty intimately in on what was going on and who all the people were. I'd stick my head in and say hi to the team, etc. Charming husband stuff. And on this particular morning, we were still in our puttering mode, and a call came from this lady who I knew worked in the HR department, or like in the, corporate thing. But it was not super unusual for her to chime in, and it popped up. It's like, oh, call from this person. And Laura picked up, and I stuck my face in, and I was like, uh-oh, blah, blah, blah is calling. This can't be good. No laughter, just like and I immediately thought, oh wait, this actually isn't good. I need to remove myself. So I stole away to the hallway, still within earshot. And the person said something, and Laura turned to me with this face. 15 or 20 minutes later, there was an all-hands meeting, and all the employees had their screens blacked out and their mics muted by the person hosting the event. And that person read out a statement saying, effective immediately, we are closing down print publication of InStyle, and you're all terminated. It was just really shocking. It's like getting news that like a plane has crashed or something. I mean, not to that extent, obviously. There's no death involved, but it is traumatic. A sudden, unexpected change in the status quo. And I felt like an outfielder when like a ball is hit into the air. I was like trying to judge where it was going, where to put myself to catch it. As the supportive husband and partner. Laura was the ball in the air, and I was wondering how to handle it. I was taking my cues from her, so studying her to see how she'd respond. And honestly, part of me was hoping she's gonna have a breakdown, and we're gonna have like a week-long bender, and we're gonna go to IHOP, and she's gonna drink beers with me. We'll even play like beer pong. I had just really only known her as this hyper-functional, creative, executive person. So I was thinking we'll have a fun little breakdown period here. That I can do. That is in my wheelhouse. I can do avoidant partying. But no, in between the two shoes dropping, she had already contacted her agent. Hey, getting fired in a sec. Let's talk today. And immediately launched into this okay, what's next mode, which was kind of scary, honestly. Come on, let's have a little wobble, can we? The timing for us actually wasn't that terrible because we were getting married in 2 months maybe. So that was all right, well, still have this massively joyful event to look forward to and plan and think about. There's severance involved and whatnot, so it wasn't immediate terror of how are we gonna fund this month's abode. Now I say we, but I think we all know. I was angry. I know that print media is, for sure on its way out, but to me, I don't think I could have been in a room with the guys who made this decision and show them spreadsheets to prove them wrong. But I know what I witnessed in terms of not necessarily measurable economic impact, but I witnessed the interpersonal and cultural impact of the work Laura and her team were doing. I know it might not be easy to measure, but there's a whole absolute swath of people whose lives and livelihoods are impacted by this, and stylists and talent and writers and photographers and set people and production people, all of whom come together to, in an exciting way, create exciting, new, meaningful images that tell a story and showcase merchandise and talent and skill and passion and, market stuff. Move merch. I maintain that the guys who made this decision were like the bad guys in Avatar who go in and chop down the sacred tree on Pandora and aren't aware of the scope of the impact of their decision. But, that's my view. What do I know? I don't mean that sarcastically. I'm truly qualifying this with I'm a waiter and whimsical writer, not a business executive, so truly, what do I know? Laura was in locked-in mode, so I don't know exactly what she was feeling, probably just sort of mission-driven focus. But from my end, I had zero doubt that she would find thrilling ways to piece together her skills and her network. Like, there was no part of me that felt insecure or worried. And that's just a unique position I'm in. There's plenty of people who are magnificently functional like that. But, she is in the top slice of that pie chart. It's a big, I don't know, whatever. She's in rarefied company when it comes to that stuff. So that's just unusual. And pretty immediately, it was clear that there were all these opportunities. And this is when I made my now famous remark. There were all these people coming out. People were like, I interned at blah, 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 this building back in the day. And Laura was the one who made me feel welcomed. And she was the one who made me feel like a human. She was the one who treated me with warmth. And I made my comment, your whole career, you've been like Johnny Appleseed, just forging ahead, flinging seeds out of your haversack, your bindle, and you've had no designs or intentions of harvesting what you were sowing. You just did it because that's in your nature. And now in your hour of wondering, you turn around and look, and there's this expansive, rich orchard laid out before you, full of people who are like, look, you helped me grow this apple. Can I share it with you? Of course, that analogy was referenced on Oprah's podcast. So you're welcome, Oprah, for helping feed your content machine. And then, a year later, Laura's dear friend and fellow professional queen colleague, Kristina O'Neill, was fired from the Wall Street Journal magazine. And within a week of that happening, they'd gotten together. Kristina was like, Laura, I'm getting fired. What's up? And Laura was like, okay, you're gonna be cool, trust me, I'm better than ever, let's hang out, let's look sexy, which is not hard, and we'll just take a picture of ourselves and we will post it and we will say, all the cool girls get fired. And they did that. People were like, oh, this is sick. And then the next day, Kristina was like, Laura, I think this is a book. And then a week later, they sat down and wrote a book proposal in 48 hours. And then they sold it instantly. And then they wrote a book. And Laura would be on the couch and she'd be like, I'm writing a book. So they compiled all this stuff that they learned on the fly. So they wrote the book that they wished they had. Here's what to do. Oh, you should hire. All right. Oh, also, sorry. I'm not trying to sell you a book. I hope someone buys this book. I hope lots of people buy this book. I'm not worried about it. I know that many people will, and it will have a long shelf life. I'm just sharing my perspective on this because I want to feel like I matter. Because I do. I just want to exercise my right to matter and insert myself into the narrative. Because I have some kind of fear that if I don't do that, I will just vanish. No, I don't know. I'm just being funny. When I was a kid, I read these Chicken Soup for the whatever soul books. I remember there was one, it was like Chicken Soup for the Children's Soul. And I loved it a lot. There was a line in it that was like, my dad said, son, people already look up to you, so give them other reasons to do so. I think this book is like that. It's got they interviewed all these people, and I just happened to be around for a lot of them. So like I hear from the other room Laura and Kristina on Zoom talking to Carol Burnett about getting fired from her theater job, and I'm talking to Lisa Kudrow about, you know, she thought she'd made it on Frasier, and then she got fired from that, and it was like, oh my god, like, what is happening? And then of course she got friends. The book is called All the Cool Girls Get Fired, but the drum I've been beating is that the book is completely gender neutral. I think it's useful for anyone who's going through career upheaval or thinking about it. Like if your job is a job that deep down you're like, I don't want to wake up 10 years from now and still be at this job. Like that is not a future where I will look back and be proud of the path I've tread. But you're afraid of change, which is natural. I think reading this will just help you sort of visualize the terrain ahead and be like, okay, yeah, that'll be kind of treacherous, but it is navigable. There's already been people who've like, oh my god, I ordered your wife's book, or I read your wife's book, and I forgot that I filed for unemployment, and now we can afford our nanny. Or there's other stuff in there like, hey, don't sign your severance package. They need you to sign it, so go just consult with a lawyer, because chances are they're offering you the minimum they think they can offer you to not have you, file a lawsuit or something. Maybe you can get more. There's just like really protein-rich, real world, and nicely packaged, because Laura and Kristina write in a nice sort of upbeat, cheerful, professional. They're not me. They're not like, come on, let's have a breakdown together. They're like, we will discuss over some wine and some fun times. We can cry a little bit. And that's where the stories come in, So getting fired is tough. Even if I got fired once. I'm a cool girl. And then I quit before I could get fired from another place. But when I first moved to LA, when I got a job at this telemarketing, it was like telefundraising. I would think, and I might think that you might think that like that's something I would be good at. Brother, I was terrible. Sister, I was not good. And I think it's because I'm a good person. In my household, we grew up, it was like a competition to see who could abuse the telemarketer the worst. Because they deserve it. Don't call me during dinner and try to sell me a new sweater or whatever the hell. So I just could never get over the fact that like, I am calling and I am a nuisance. So I was not effective. I'll keep doing it until they get rid of me. But when they did get rid of me, I was like, oh man, here it comes. And it's like, they rejected me. And then of course there was like sour grapes, very easy and pluckable sour grapes, where I was like, obviously I don't want that to be my career. But still it was like, they fired me. They broke up with me. So now, after this book becomes a huge bestseller, and you get to say, hey, that book on the #1 list that's been there and been active and been being sold and read for 10 years, I learned about it from one of the author's husbands who talked about it in a TikTok. What a charming, intimate way for me to be familiar with this cultural touchstone. And you're welcome for that. It's truly my pleasure. At long last, I will close with this. Laura is extra efficient at it, but we all, I believe, possess this alchemical ability to take the bad things that happen to us and transform and transmute them into, this core part of our story. Be the main character in your own life. What interesting story or book or movie have you consumed where nothing bad happened to the character? This is the thing. This is the inciting incident. This is what kicks off the good stuff. And, that's part of that is just like whatever happens, your brain will find ways to recalibrate. So if something bad happens and then you reach stability again, you get to look back and be like, I am an absolute boss. I handled that. And, I'm all for breakdowns, so go ahead and have that. I certainly won't judge. But if you want to move through some tumultuous period a bit more efficiently and less destructively, I think this is a good book to help you do it. Or if you are looking ahead and thinking that it might be a treacherous path of difficult terrain between you and where you want to be, and you're too afraid to walk across that place to get to the good place, you could also check this book out, and I think it would arm you with helpful tools to set out on that journey. This was good, right? I feel good about it. This was a good message. I think I'm doing a good job by sharing it. Thanks for watching. Truly, really, thank you.